I have a most interesting author with me, Stephen Booth, who writes crime fiction. Stephen, thank you for coming on the show.
Pleasure.
Now, Stephen, you started out as a journalist, didn't you, rather than a crime writer?
No, I didn't. I was a writer first and foremost before I was a journalist, because I started writing at a very young age. In fact, I wrote my first novel when I was 12 years old. And I went into newspapers because that was a way of earning a living by writing. But I always knew that what I wanted to do when I grew up was to write novels.
Have you grown up yet?
Yeah, just about, I think.
So what made you turn to crime fiction as opposed to any other genre?
Well, when I started writing this series, the Cooper and Fry series, I'd been a huge fan of crime fiction myself as a reader for many years. And when I wrote the first book, it was simply the book that I would have enjoyed reading myself as a fan of crime fiction. And I wrote it for myself. I didn't have a publishing contract. But also, I think crime fiction does everything that I want as a writer. You know, it's such a wide genre now that you can write about character and relationships and a place, or about social issues if you want to, and still have a really good story that's going to make the reader, engage the reader fully in your fictional world and make them read through to the end of the book. So it's perfect for what I want to do.
And Ben Cooper and Diane Fry are your main characters, aren't they? Are they in all your books?
Yes, 9 so far.
And are they going to continue?
Well, I'm in the middle of writing the 10th book at this moment, and after that, I don't know. That's the last book I'm on my present contract. So I might do something different in the future, but there's no possibility of me killing them off or anything. They're all friends to me now. So.
They're not going to become victims of your next crime, I hope.
No, I don't think so. You know, I know them so well. They've lived in my head for about 10 years now, and they're just old friends of mine. So they will still live on somewhere, even if I'm not writing about them.
So when you write, do your characters write themselves, or do you write them?
Yes, Ben Cooper and Diane Fry were created during the writing process. They came off the page for me. I didn't know anything about them until I started writing about them. And I'm constantly discovering things about them as I write, even after the 9th book, you know. It's like somebody you know, you're always finding out something new about them. So they constantly surprise me. I sometimes say, if you read something in one of my books that surprises you, the chances are it surprised me too. So I don't know what they're going to do all the time. They drive the story. I don't plan the books. I rely on them totally, because they're the detectives. I'm not the detective. It's their job to go out and find out what happened and create the story for me, and I rely totally on Ben and Diane to do that for me. And so far it's worked.
Oh, well, fingers crossed, yeah. Well, you've got 9 to nearly 10 books out of it, so they clearly have quite a gift.
Yes, and they're just doing their job, you know, and doing it pretty well most of the time.
Most of your books are set in Derbyshire, aren't they, in the Peak District? Well,
it's such a fascinating area, a perfect area for me to write about. It has all these wonderful atmospheric locations for me to use. A huge range of locations in a very small area, you know, from the very pretty limestone villages to these bleak moorlands and everything in between. It has thousands of years of history, which are visible right there in the landscape, you know, the stone circles and the remains of the old lead mining industry. And I use history and related folklore quite a lot in the books, so that landscape becomes a character in the stories, and it's almost a living thing at times.
Stephen, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you, it's been a pleasure.
And you're now going to read for us, aren't you?
Yes, I'm going to read the opening section from my most recent book, which is called The Kill Call. Journal of 1968. In those days there were always just the 3 of us. 3 bodies close together, down there in the cold, with the water seeping through the concrete floor and a chill striking deep into flesh and bone. The 3 of us, crouching in the gloom, waiting for a signal that would never come. And what a place to wait and watch in. 7 feet high and 7 feet wide, it might as well have been a giant coffin. But slam down the lid and blot out the sun, and we'd survive. Oh yes, for 14 days we'd survive. Thinking about all the things we'd hoped for, and the way our lives could be snuffed out, just like that. One night Jimmy looked up from his bunk next to me, and he said we were like the 3 little pigs, or the 3 billy goats gruff. Well, I don't know about that. 3 blind mice maybe, it would be more fitting. If it all kicked off, the 3 of us would be as good as blind, blinded by a million suns, blind to the people dying. A few of the details are a bit dim now. Age does that to you. But other things are as bright and stark in my mind as if they'd been burnt there by a lightning flash. Faces and eyes are what I remember most. Faces in the dark, eyes turned up towards the light, that look in the eyes a second before death. Yet all we had down there was a miserable 6-watt bulb. I don't think they even make bulbs that small anymore, do they? No wonder your sight could get damaged. Then every 90 minutes the switch would pop and it went totally dark. Black as a cat in a coal hole. I always hated that. And that was the 3 of us. Me, Les, and poor old Jimmy. Always 3, except for the time that we didn't ever talk about. A lot of things seem to come in 3s, don't they? The Holy Trinity, the 3 wise men, the Third World War. There must be something magic about the number. Perhaps it's to do with the Earth being the 3rd planet from the Sun, or the fact that we see the world in 3 dimensions, even if your world happens to be only 7 feet wide and 7 feet high. And that's another funny thing. They say bad luck comes in 3s, don't they? I think I always knew that. But here's something I didn't know. It turns out that people die in 3s too.
So if you want to find out who dies and who done it, then you'll need to read Stephen's book, The Kill Call. Details of The Kill Call, and of course all our featured books, are on our website, thebookchannel.tv. So join us next time for more authors, more lovely books, and some more expert advice. Until then, happy reading.